Assalamu alaikum everyone. Here is a cardiac overview. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about cardiac. So, first of all, we have to discuss about the layers of heart. So, there are three layers of the heart which are epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. Okay, so heart is covering with three layers. So, epicardium is exterior layer or external layer which is in yellow color. Then you have to remember epicardium as epi means upon. So epicardium is upon or external or exterior layer of the heart. Then we have second layer which is myocardium, also known as middle layer. So myocardium is responsible for pumping action. So myo means muscle. You have to remember with this trick. Then we have third layer which is endocardium. Endocardium means thin inner layer. So the endocardium lines the inside of the heart and valves. So for this, endo means within. So you have to remember the layer which is within the heart is called endocardium or the inner layer. Okay, so these was the all three layers of the heart which make a whole heart. Then there is something about pericardium. Pericardium is a thin sac that encompasses the heart, or simply pericardium is a thin sac which surround the heart, basically which is composed of two layers, the parietal pericardium and the visceral pericardium. So here's a diagram of these two layers, parietal pericardium and the visceral pericardium. Visceral pericardium simply adheres to the epicardium which is in contact with heart, and between them there is a fluid which lubricates the surface of the heart, and also this fluid reduces the friction. Okay, so this was the whole about pericardium, which is composed of two layers, the parietal pericardium and the visceral pericardium. Then we have more about cardiac terms. So the first term related to cardiac is cardiac output. So the cardiac output is total volume of blood ejected or pumped by the heart per minute. So it's the amount of blood which is reaching the tissue. Simply we call it cardiac output. Then we have another term which is stroke volume. Stroke volume is the amount of blood which is pumped out the ventricles with each beat of contraction. It means both ventricles, either right and left, at the same times or during the contraction, both ventricles pumped the blood is known as stroke volume. Then another term which is contractility. Contractility simply means force and strength of contraction of the heart muscle. So simply it represents the strength of heart muscle to contract during the contraction. Then another term which is ejection fraction, or simply EF. EF is the percentage of blood which is expelled from the only left ventricle with every contraction. So here we are not talking about both ventricles, just only left ventricle, from where the percentage of blood is expelled with every contraction. So the normal ejection fraction is 50 to 70%. For example, if the EF is 55%, it means the heart is pumping out 55% of what's inside the left ventricle. Okay, so this was about ejection fraction. Then we have their formula. So for cardiac output, if you are going to take out the value of cardiac output, you have to multiply the heart rate and the stroke volume. Then you will get cardiac output. So what is heart rate? Basically, heart rate is the number of times the heart contracts each minute, which is normally 60 to 100 beats per minute. And the stroke volume is the amount of blood which is ejected from the left ventricle with each and every heartbeat. So if we are multiplying heart rate and stroke volume, then we get cardiac output, which is normal 4 to 8 liter per minute. And then we have some interpretation like if you have decreased carbon dioxide, if you have decreased cardiac output, it means you have less volume. Ultimately, you have the less perfusion to the vital organs, which means there is a decreased perfusion of blood to vital organs of body. Or if we have increased cardiac output, it means we have more volume, and ultimately it could be due to hypervolemia, because if there is more fluid in the body, then there could be the increased cardiac output, which ultimately cause more volume and the more blood to perfuse the all part of the body. Okay. Then we have another term which is preload and afterload. So preload is the amount of blood which is returning to the heart side of the right side of the heart at the end of diastole. This is simply known as preload. Then we have afterload. So afterload is the pressure that the left ventricle has to pump against the resistance it must overcome to circulate the blood. Okay, so clinically it is measured by systolic blood pressure. So this was the whole cardiac overview. I hope you get it.